and holy shiitake mushrooms. So Upper Park Lake is there. Good morning and welcome to Cooley Outdoors. I'm your host, Brandon Scott. Here, let's take these glasses off. They're a little too innocuous. I'm your host, Brandon Scott, and today's adventure, it's been a while. I've had to do adult things on my days off. I didn't just get to go play hikey every time, which is mostly wedding planning stuff, but I also had to do some family stuff. So yeah, anywho, today we are up here at the top of White Pass, which is one of Stevens, Snoqualmie, White, 3 passes in the state that are open year-round to crossing over the Cascades. There's 5 of them total. 6 of them in total. Yeah, North Cascades, which is Rainy Pass, Washington Pass, Chinook Pass, and no, 5. 5. Sorry, yeah, 5. That crossover, but this is one of 3 that stays open in total. The other 2 being, of course, Stevens and Snoqualmie. And we are going to go walk along the Pacific Crest Trail. I say me, because it's a Tuesday, so nobody's around to play with me. Nash is at work, Sabrina has to work, and my parents are still out of state on their vacation. So I'm doing a solo hike in an area I've wanted to come check out for a while. White Pass, of course. Hoping to go do some skiing up here in the winter now that I know what the general area, I mean, I'll poke around some more, but the ski area is right over there. Probably be able to see it maybe when we start walking up the trail. If not, I can go down to Leech Lake right there and go show you. But anywho, get some hiking in, and hopefully in the winter get some snowshoeing and skiing in. So we are going up the Pacific Crest Trail to at least Sand Lake, which is a 5-mile hike, and hopefully all the way to Dumbbell Lake, which is a 13-mile hike. And it's mostly sunny, little foggy, and it's September, mid-September, so it's not going to be warm anymore. It's only supposed to be like 60 degrees or so. So yeah, fall is fast approaching, and most likely actually already here up the mountain, so hopefully we get some good fall colors. Let's go check out the books. So first and foremost, we got 100 Hikes in Washington South Cascades and Olympics by Mr. Spring and Mr. Manning. Hike number 25, Sand and Dumbbell Lakes. Sand Lake is 6 miles, Dumbbell Lake is 13 miles. Hopefully going to get some of that good foggy action this morning. Sand Lake, 6 miles, 4 hours. Dumbbell Lake, 7 hours round trip. 1,200 feet in, 500 feet out. And as I show you on the map, there's multiple ways to get to Dumbbell Lake, which means you can also make this into a loop hike. I don't think I'm going to do that, just so I can save the other direction for another time with Nash or my father. Don't know why the camera is being a poo. Anywho, so these options don't talk about the same way I'm going, but they talk about the loops and such and the other options. So Day and Section Heights of the Pacific Crest Trail, Washington, a 2nd edition by Adrian Schaefer. Number 8, Buesch and Dumbbell Lakes. This is the loop that I was talking about. So I'm going to go up. I'll show you on the map in a second. I'm going to go up the Pacific Crest Trail and come back down. This talks about going up and back down the Kramer Lake Trail. So there's that. And then for this, in day hiking Mount Adams and Goat Rocks, it talks about going up the Kramer Lake Trail to Dumbbell Lake, which is 14 miles round trip, 2,200 feet of elevation gain. So 2,200 feet elevation drop on the way back out versus 1,200 feet on the way in. And if you're interested in just going to Deer and Sand Lakes, there's a lot of lakes up here, which means a lot of mosquitoes, which means you should probably wait till this time of year to do these hikes. So Deer and Sand Lakes, 5.2 miles, 960 feet. So to get to Sand Lake in 2.5 miles, you gain 900 feet, and there's only 300 feet to gain for the next, what is that, 3-ish, 4-ish miles to Dumbbell Lake afterwards. So that's kind of what I was trying to show and look at. And then if we look at the map, so we are parked here. This is White Pass, Rimrock Lake, and Yakima's that way. Go back down Highway 12 towards Mount Rainier National Park, which is just off the map over here. So we are going to go up the Pacific Crest Trail, past Deer Lake, past Sand Lake, to at least Buesch Lake, and more than likely I'll continue the little scamper off on the Kramer Lake Trail, or Trail 56. What is Trail 56? Anyway, not quite to Cowlitz Pass, over to Dumbbell Lake. And yeah, that'll be pretty much the day. Let's go have some high alpine, not necessarily high alpine, but let's go have some pretty scenery. So here we are heading north on the Pacific Crest Trail. Rex is parked there. Just behind Rex, you can kind of get a peek of Leech Lake. And over there on the other side is the White Pass Ski Resort proper. So this section of the Pacific Crest Trail and the William O. Douglas Wilderness is called the Tumac Plateau because it is, well, a high, flat plateau. And so there's lots of meadows, large and small lakes and marshlands and yada yada yada. So it's very pretty and very scenic in the fall. But in the summer, when it first melts out, that's the stock trail coming in there. So we'll come over here, White Pass north. You'd think there'd be a map here, but I guess not. That's last year's fire restriction. But yeah, so all this nice lakey area. Ooh, PCT emblem up there. That's cool. It's kind of broken though. I'm sure there's supposed to be a William O. Douglas Wilderness sign sitting here too. Well, after about 20 minutes of walking, probably half a mile, 2/3 of a mile or so. I'm sure one of the books actually says it, but anywho, we're far enough away from White Pass to where we're now entering the wilderness area. And so if you're wondering, when we walk by trees and you see like that kind of flat spottish there, or stuff like there, I'll point it out to you again some other next spot, but the next tree down here too. These are trailblazes. So these get put into trees like that. That's kind of low, but that, and you'll see them higher up in these higher alpine areas for snow cover. But these mark the trail. So when the trail crew comes through to clean it out or whatever, ooh, here we go. And we reached the junction. The Dark Meadow Trail 1107 goes down and to our right and goes over to, I want to say, Clear Lake. Let me whip the map out really quick. So this is a different way to get up here if the trailhead I parked at in Leech Lake is too busy. So instead of hiking the 2/3 of a mile or 3/4 of a mile from the Pacific Crest Trail proper, you can come up the Dark Meadow Trail, which is a 1.5 miles. And yes, it's Dog Lake, not Clear Lake. Dog Lake and a campground down there, which would also be our way back. If we were to do this loop, you'd have to go down the Kramer Lake Trail down to the Dog Lake campground and then come up this 1.5 mile Dark Meadow Trail to get here and then head back. So at some point, will we do this trail? Maybe. Will we do this loop in its entirety? Possibly, and if we do, I'll post whatever version of us going down the Dark Meadow Trail right there. But as you can see, and I'm going to take pictures of, you got the Dark Meadow Trail sign there, you got the Pacific Crest Trail sign there, and then there's a Pacific Crest Trail badge over there. I'm going to come back to, and there's another blaze there, come back over here to the wilderness boundary sign and get a picture of it in the morning sun. And then we will continue on our way, because pictures for posterity. And then I'll walk down here and we'll get a look at this old wooden Pacific Crest Trail badge. So yeah, when the trail crew comes down, if there's no blazes on a tree, they might cut a blaze into a tree, and it just takes a hatchet and you chip away the bark out to the bare underneath, chip out through, usually through the cambium to the wood below,
and then you spray paint it, and the spray paint acts as another visual reminder. See, this one's been cut out fairly recently. The bark hasn't grown back around it, but looks like they didn't paint it this time. There's a cool wooden Pacific Crest Trail badge, but normally you'd paint it with like red or orange or yellow paint to make it visually easier to see, even easier than that. So if you're walking down a trail and for some reason a storm comes through, or like a fire comes through and knocks a whole bunch of shit down the trail, those trail blazes are usually every 100 feet or so. So you just keep finding those, and if the trail's gone, you can find the trail blazes and know you're still on track. So now we're in William O. Douglas Wilderness proper, and our next stop will be, Deer Lake, and then Sand Lake. Screefield over there, possibly a pike over there. Haven't heard any yet, but let's continue. So Pacific Crest Trail is there. I'm turning, walking down here. Only a couple 100 feet down this side trail to Deer Lake. And I can see there's hammocks here. So there's other people already here, some campers. So this would be at least one of the cars from the parking lot, but that's okay. I will go find myself a spot to hang out by the lake. So camp there. And I'm going to come down to the lake over here. I thought I heard something rustling in there. Oh well. Continue to the lake. Go find a spot to hang out at the lake. No fog, but that's fine. 3 tents up here. 3 different groups of people here. So I'll come sit down here by the lake and probably shoot a 15 or a 20 minute long exposure and hang out in the morning sunshine. Depending on how many videos I take, I may post the long exposure right there, but YouTube only allows you to tag 5 videos in a video. So if I take more than 5 videos, I have to choose what to and what not to put in, and this is possibly going to be pretty low on the tag list today. So, but we will see. Otherwise, let's hang out for a bit. That's a Clark's Nutcracker, by the way. It's a member of the Blue Old sign, homemade sign, making sure people know this is the main Pacific Crest Trail, and that's just a spur to Deer Lake. But hung out at Deer Lake for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Took a long exposure. Now we are on our way to Sand Lake, and we will be there probably in 15 minutes or so. It's not very far away from Deer Lake. Well, came over a low hill, and I believe this is Sand Lake, or what's left of it after summer sun. So that ain't a whole lot to look at, but we'll take a long exposure and a break here. There should also be a trail junction up here where a trail comes up from the west, and I'm assuming where the trail junction is, there'll probably be a pretty decent spot to sit, maybe. I mean, this is what happens. Throughout the summer, the lake levels around the lakes get lower and lower, and they get replenished each year by the winter snows. But there's supposed to be a trail junction in here somewhere for a trail coming up. Don't think I missed it. I'm usually more observant than that. Let's see here. Oh, it's at the very end of the lake, so we still got to come up here. But I think the spot I'm going to hang out at Sand Lake is to be over there amongst those rocks. Methinks, because this is pretty much, well, this is half of it. There's another bit of it up here where this trail comes in, where it's supposed to come in. So we'll go look at that trail junction and then figure out where I'm going to sit. But possibly he's going to be back there in the sun. Nice open viewing range. We shall see. But yeah, if you want to come back and see this lake when it's full, when it's all the way up to here to the grass, go ahead. You'd just be hanging out with your million mosquito best friends. That's why I didn't come till now. So, yeah. And some of the huckleberries are starting to turn pretty color. Not quite yet. I was thinking we've had cool, moist weather in the last week or so in the mountains, and that they might have started turning color, but not quite. Some areas are, but still a little early for that. And as if on cue, here we go. Trail junction. Sand Lake Trail number 60. So yes, if you wanted to come up and see Sand Lake from a different, more exciting direction, you can come up the Sand Lake Trail. I'll post how long it is one way in the elevation from there. But I'm gonna go find myself a spot to hang out. There's campers in there. The Pacific Trail continues that direction, which we won't go do quite yet. We'll go find ourselves a spot to hang out and take a long exposure of the lake, and I'll post that right there. So, like I said, I was going to go back over there, take a long exposure and hang out. I did that, so now we are continuing northbound on the PCT, finishing up passing Sand Lake and onto Buesch Lake. Again, there's the Sand Lake Junction. If I didn't tag it, I'll tag the Sand Lake long exposure right there. So there's that. What else is there to say? Oh, yeah, so that's warm. The trail books have most people stop their day hike because that's a nice little 5-ish mile out and back hike. Because now there's nothing, no lakes along this trail till you get to Buesch Lake, and that's another 3.5 miles distant. So it turns your 2.5 miles, 2.5, yeah, so yeah, 3.5 miles distance to make it a 6 mile one way, or 12 miles overall. So yeah, you can see Sand Lake when it's full. Probably comes almost the way up here and comes way up into here, and this turns into a peninsula. But this late in the summer, most of the water's gone. It is not. So now for the next 3.5 miles or so to Buesch Lake and the Kramer Lake Trail Junction, we'll be rolling through the forest, gaining a couple hundred feet, dropping a couple hundred feet. Well, I first think it's a drop, and then a gain, and then a drop. And it's like 200 feet each time, except for the last drop is 400 feet down. So yeah, time to hit it. Look, that's what I'm talking about. Tumac Plateau. That's a water hole. Dried up now, but 2 months ago would have been, oh no, there's still water in there. But 2 months ago would have been another 3 feet deeper. And a major mosquito breeding ground. I mean, it's still very pretty in here, but I mean, yeah, that's some good bracky brack water. You can see how much of it dries up throughout the summer and then refills in the winter, because we are at almost 6,000 feet. There's probably 15 or 20 feet of snow up here in the winter, and hopefully this winter we'll actually make it up here and do some skiing and or some snowshoeing in the White Pass area. Maybe even snowshoe to Deer Lake, considering that's only 2 miles one way, and that's not a bad snowshoe considering we do the 2 miles to Reflection Lake and Mount Rainier all the time. So yeah, hopefully we'll be up here and do some winter activities up here and be quite pretty. But I mean, this is just classic, amazing sub-alpine beauty of Washington. And the trail didn't drop. I suppose I should have taken the hint when the guidebooks didn't say much about dropping and gaining, but the old semi-outdated maps on iHike showed the trail going way down there by a couple hundred feet of elevation and coming back up, whereas we are cruising in the dividing line of the counties and of the Cascade Crest is literally right there. I could throw a rock or spit across the line. This is the third spine of crumbly rock I've encountered in the last quarter mile, and the trail's gotten progressively rockier too. So we're coming down to the pass. There should be a junction coming up fairly soon called the Courtright Trail, and it goes off to our left as we watch a chippy scamper on down a log. But yes, the Courtright Trail comes in from our left, comes uphill. Don't know what it's all about. Doubt I'll ever do it. Put a description of what the Forest Service says it is all about, or if anybody else like WTA has info about it, I'll put that down there. But I don't think I'll ever do it, but I might. You never know. Yeah, getting much rockier now. We're getting close to the pass. That's the most open, high gradient rocky terrain I've seen on this entire hike. But yeah, we're getting really close to the pass now. We're crossing over from the east side to the west side and getting to Buesch and Dumbbell Lake. And we're kind of very obliquely coming in, or I guess it'd be acutely since Courtright's coming in from our sharp left almost behind us. Coming in, should be coming in at some point very soon. Because I'm off trail according to the map, but usually the trails aren't too far from where they actually intersect and such, so they like to keep those straightforward. That way you don't have to move signs and such. So we'll leave this on to... Oh shit! Ptarmigan chicken. Holy crap, that scared me. Because they fly really freaking loudly. Ptarmigan or a grouse. Pretty much the same thing. And then saw small songbirds. We flew over here. Might get another view at it, depending. We flew into this clear spot right over here. Although who knows how much we walked. We went and hid under a stump or something. But we tucked ourselves in. Right in here somewhere. There we are. I see us. Right there. You can't see her because she's in the shadow. But I've got my stick right on her. I can see her. She's hiding in the shade. Nope, not gonna talk to me, not gonna do nothing. It says, you don't see me, I'm in the shade. Anywho, as I was saying, I was gonna keep the camera rolling until we got to the Courtright junction so I could tag it, which is probably gonna go in the description because it's probably never actually gonna be actually utilized and walked on, but also because the scenery is good. And yes, we may be passing a lot of lakes on this trail, but that's not the only eye candy for this trail. junction's already really long. Come on. Get to the junction. Dang it, I started jabbering too early. Here's even more rock on our left. Even more rock on our left with huckleberries changing color. Oh, let's see here. I need to get a picture of that one, because that's really good. That's really pretty. Alright. Let me guess, I bet they moved the intersection of the Courtright Trail right to the pass. That's annoying. Come on. Nobody hanging out up in here. But yeah, most of the huckleberry bushes in this open slope are changing color because they're more exposed to the weather. They get that much colder and that much more beat on by the sun. So they change first. Come on. Where's this trail junction? It's gonna be right at the pass now, isn't it? Actually, be even funnier if the Courtright Trail didn't even exist anymore. I have a feeling it does. Yeah, no, we've dropped. Alright, I'm probably going to scrub a bunch of this out then and turn it back onto the Courtright Trail. Alright, so now we've made it pretty much to this Cowlitz Pass area. More birds. And we got a junction here, which is going to be the Courtright Trail. I have no idea what the Courtright Trail is about. I looked on the map and it looks like it's just a trail that goes up and over and down a ridgeline. As you can tell, not much anybody else uses it because it's very faint. I have no idea what it's about. I'll put whatever blurb I can find obviously down below that you can read. And if I ever do it, I'll post it there, but most likely it'll actually go into the description because it's very low on my list of things. I'd rather show the lakes and stuff from this hike. But anywho, we will continue on from here. Very pretty pond right here. And we will start dropping down on the west side of the Cascade Crest towards Buesch and Dumbbell Lake. Very pretty little pond here. This is what the Tumac Plateau is all about. Forest interspersed with meadows and lots of water, standing water everywhere. Because there's one there, there's one on the other side right over there, and I'm sure there'll be decent views. Said there'll be decent views of Mount Rainier and the Goat Rocks from this pass as we start dropping, so we shall see. Don't see any froggies or any tadpoles swimming around though. There's all kinds of bugs swimming around, but I was expecting more frogs and tadpoles and maybe salamanders. Oh well. So as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by a camera dying prematurely, this is Buesch Lake. And it looks like it'd be pretty good. Take a long exposure. Problem is the sun's directly in the way, so if I'm feeling up to it, which I probably will, the more I look at it as the trail goes this direction, I will probably find a good spot to take a long exposure on the way back because the sun is not in the best spot for videoing. Unless it looks, I mean, it looks good. We've only got not much longer, probably a quarter mile to the Kramer Lake Junction, and then a quarter mile after that to Dumbbell Lake. But yeah, this is a fairly good lake to get a video of. Screw it, let's just get it done and over with right now. Come down here to this log, see what it looks like. Yeah, we'll just shoot from right here. Methinks that'll work. Cool. If I put the long exposure in the video, I'll put it right there. Otherwise, it'll be down in the description below. Alright, so we took our long exposure of Buesch Lake, and of course now that I walk along here more, looks like I probably should have, should have taken my long exposure from over here instead, but oh well. It's time to make our last push to Dumbbell Lake. Yeah, nope, it would have been probably better to get long exposure a little further up this direction. Oh well, we shall continue. Right, we've reached the junction. Pacific Crest Trail continues on straight ahead. We will save that for another day, maybe. Pacific Crest Trail number 2000. It says Dumbbell Trail number 1156. Thought it was called the Kramer Lake Trail. Whatever. On to the Dumbbell Trail, less than a quarter mile to Dumbbell Lake. The end is in sight. They must have to go all the way back, but that's a different story. The star attraction of the show today, Dumbbell Lake down here. So now, I just need to find a spot to hang out and get to my long exposure. There's plenty of water in the lake still. That's because it's a big frickin' lake, so we'll see if we can't find ourselves a good spot to hang out in. And it looks like there's a junction of sorts here. It's a Long John Trail, which is, I think, some sort of cutoff trail that goes to Long John Lake, I believe. Oh, Long John Trail goes that way. And this is the Dumbbell Trail. Okay, well, we'll go over here, follow this, well, most of the other people trail has been going. See if we can't find ourselves a good spot to hang out. Have lunch, shoot a long exposure, and maybe get a little wet, because this seems to be just about the end of the lake, and we want to shoot with the sun at an angle. So yeah, we're gonna go over here, methinks. This line of rocks sticks out, because this is pretty much the end of the lake. So I think I want to come over here. Alrighty, it is roughly 2:30. I've been here longer than I thought I was going to. You'll see in the long exposure I took a nice little nap. You can see where I furrowed the grass. Took a nap, read a book, ate lunch, shot long exposure. Not the best weather conditions or water conditions, but hey, I think it's better than being out in the bugs. Not warm enough to go for a swim, but I don't think these lakes are fairly deep enough to swim in anyway. So I'm going to do this really quick. See if I can't get see if I like that for a thumbnail. If not, we will figure something else out for a thumbnail. There'll be something in here anyway, probably, because this is the best views I could get of the lake. Yeah, it's hard to get good depth views of lake on camera when the area is so flat. And then, of course, you've got the 15 odd feet of bare, exposed shoreline because it's later in the summer. Well, that might work better. Yeah? Yeah? Maybe? I don't know. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah, it's a little after 2:30. It's time to hit the trail and head back to Rex. Take one last panoramic-like view around the lake and say goodbye to Dumbbell Lake until next time. There, that adds some depth in the foreground. That's not grody, gross, old, dead mud. What's what I'm looking for? Shoreline. And if you step out a little more, you get that. And if you wheel that around, I can't figure out how to hold this camera, it seems. There's that. Ta-da! That'll be it. All right, now we're going back over to the trailhead. And yes, because this isn't the Pacific Crest Trail, this trail's a lot less wide, a lot less beat down, and a bit more brushed in. So yeah, we're going that way. But I'm gonna go get a picture of this trail junction first, and then we'll head out that direction. Back on the Pacific Crest Trail from the Dumbbell Trail, and how fitting that there's a trail junction right there next to one of the innumerable ponds and lakes that dot the Tumac Plateau. Perfectly fitting, I'd say. And then you got another larger body of water just over there. Like I said, I mean, it's tempting to come back in July and just see how different it is when it's truly in its element, when it's fully wet in here. But I don't know if I want to deal with the mosquitoes. Like, mosquitoes are thick, like Alaska levels of thick here in the springtime is what everybody says. So I'm not sure I'd want to deal with that. But anywho, continue. Not sure how much I'll turn the camera on the way back as normal, but I won't run the outro till I'm almost back to Rex, just in case I get exciting things to film on the way back. So right there is the Courtright Junction and also the crest of the Cascade Mountains. So the west side draining towards the Sound directly. Most of the time, actually, we're far enough south that it probably drains in the Columbia River and the Lewis River and such first. Anywho, west side of the Cascades drainage. Back to east side of the Cascades drainage. And we got done with that up. I was hoping to get done with that up. That's the only up on the way back. It's like 600 or 700 feet up in probably a mile and a half, mile and 3/4 or so. And then we cruise along just under the crest, which is right there. And eventually we'll drop down to Sand Lake and then Deer Lake. And I was hoping to get to this point about 3:15, 3:30 or so, and should get back to Rex around 5, and what do you know, it is 3:32. Booyah, baby. So, next stop, Sand Lake. In about 2 miles or so. Should take me half an hour, 40 minutes. Probably 40 minutes or so. Well, I think I'm gonna start losing the sun here for good. It's part of the reason why I came down to White Pass today, is because the weather is supposed to be iffy, and I wasn't about to let another day off go by just because of iffy weather. And I tried to get everywhere and go see everywhere and dabble in every location. So I haven't been to White Pass yet, which chalked it up. Wanted to check out the ski area just so I can get a little familiarity with it for when we come up here to park to go snowshoeing and cross-country skiing in the winter. And the weather. The weather is the biggest factor. It's supposed to be clouds and breezy all day, so which is why we didn't get great viewage of the lake, because they were choppy and cloudy, so it didn't make for great views or great videos. But most importantly, it was supposed to rain pretty much all day up at Stevens Pass. Start raining between noon and 3 o'clock at Snoqualmie Pass, and then it wasn't supposed to start getting really cloudy and rainy here down at White Pass till 5 o'clock. Oh, you can see how much more these have gotten into color versus coming up because the sun glare is gone. That's the good part about it being no sun at all. When it's completely clouded over, it just, lakes don't look good in clouds. Lakes look good in sunshine. And when the freaking sun's not right in the camera scope. But anyway, so yeah, it was supposed to rain the latest down here. So, haven't been down here yet. Need to check it out for winter recreation possibilities. And the weather was best for down here. So, hence why I'm down here. And I think I'm just going to go ahead and run my outro now, and I'll take a little bit of video at Sand Lake when we pass it, and then I probably won't even stop at Green Lake on the way back. So, thank you for joining me on this Coulee Outdoors adventure, where we hiked the Pacific Crest Trail north from White Pass to Dumbbell Lake in the William O. Douglas Wilderness, passing a handful of lakes on the trail. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, please give it a thumbs down. Either way, please tell me what you did or did not like about the video in the comments down below. And if you like the content overall, please check out some more videos and maybe give me a subscribe to know I'm doing good. And eventually I might be able to make money off of this whole farce, but who knows. Alright, ratings. Accessibility. Well, you have to drive about 100 yards down a pretty well-maintained dirt road. Otherwise, it's highway driving the whole time. So, but it is at the top of a pass, so it's a fairly short season of accessibility. So I think I'll give it 4 stars. Difficulty. I mean, if you ignore the length, which was 13 miles, which is probably outside of most people's scope, but it's not that bad of a hike. It's fairly flat. There's a couple of hills, but they're not bad. You'll get your workout in, but it's not going to kill you. Unlike some other trails that I've done that were over a dozen miles. Those really hurt. So I'll leave it at a 3.5, I suppose. And then enjoyment. I mean, it's a new area. Got to experience new things. Got to see new things. And if it wasn't for the weather misbehaving and being windy and cloudy, the lakes would have looked a lot better and I would have enjoyed it more. But otherwise, it's a solid trail, beautiful area, but I neither got prima views of the lakes because of the weather, nor did I get prima views of the fall foliage because it's probably a week or two too early yet. So in either of those perfect conditions, this would probably get 4 stars, but those conditions were not met, although it is still a nice trail and beautiful area, so I'll still give it 3.5 stars. Would I come back and do this trail again? Yes, but would not do it this early in the year. Don't think I'd ever come do any of these trails much earlier in the year than this, because I don't want to deal with the clouds and mosquitoes. And next time I will wait for a great sunny day so that I can actually get into Dumbbell Lake, since it's a deep enough lake to probably swim in, and it'd give me better videos of the lakes. And to top it off, I'll probably wait and come in mid-September or early October when the fall colors are at their best, and try to get the magical combination. But yes, this trail was enjoyable. This was fun. It was a good way to get outside. I do enjoy it. I do recommend y'all come try it, even if you just go to Sand and Deer Lakes. Other than that, as usual, I have no idea when I'll go out next. It's been almost a month since the last time I went out, just because things got in the way. So another summer has gone by, another August wasted, and a half of a September wasted. The two primo times to get out hiking for most areas, and conspired against me. But then again, it's harder and harder when it's hotter and smokier each year. So, but I'm happy that we got out and did the two trails we did back in August for vacation. Swamp Lake was a very pleasant surprise. And of course, Lake Ingalls is always a showstopper hike in itself. So, anywho, no idea when we're going to get out next, but I've got a couple of pretty good ideas of trails I want to get out and go do here when it starts getting fall foliage. Pray for Larch Madness, and see you next time. Coming back down into Sand Lake. It is approximately 4:15, so I am scooting along at my normal quick 3-mile-an-hour pace. There is Sand Lake over there. Got the Sand Lake Trail Junction coming up over here, and yeah, sunshine is completely gone. The clouds are getting progressively darker and scuddlier, and the wind, as you might be able to hear over the microphone, is staying pretty consistently up, which means I don't want to be out here anymore. Not that I don't want to be out here, it's just I'd like to make it back to Rex before it starts raining. Because yes, I did pack a rain shell, but it's a lightweight rain shell, and I don't want to go digging it out of my backpack. I'd rather make it back to Rex before getting drenched. So yeah, I cut myself off quick when I was doing the outro because there's a group of 3 people coming up and I didn't want to put them on camera. But I said, got some fall hikes ideas to hopefully go see some good fall color, and pretty much pray for another Larch Madness hike. And other than that, hope you all have a good one, and I will see you next time. Ciao. Okay.